Aloha and good afternoon, everyone. It is 1:02 p.m. on Thursday, May 25th, 2023, and I call the Committee on Public Safety to order. I'd like to welcome members of the committee, Committee Vice Chair Tolba and Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, and also welcome Councilmember Say. Thank you for being with us today. So pursuant to Section 92-3.7 Hawaii Revised Statutes, this meeting will be conducted as a remote meeting by interactive conference technology with the following procedures in effect for the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda when each item is taken up in two ways: in person in the council chamber and remotely via video conference or phone. Before testifying, each person shall state their name for the record and will be limited to a 1-minute presentation on each item. All persons who have registered to testify in person will be called upon first. When the timer goes off, please conclude your remarks promptly. Persons who have not registered will be given an opportunity to offer testimony following the registered testifiers. Once in-person testimony has concluded, I will proceed to remote testimony. For persons who are testifying by video conference, when your name is called, please monitor your screen and unmute your audio when prompted. For those who are testifying by telephone, I will identify you by the last 3 digits of your phone number. When your number is called, please listen for the prompt to unmute and press *6. Persons who did not register will be given an opportunity to offer testimony by using the raise hand feature in Zoom to be called upon. Some friendly reminders and tips: video conference from a quiet location if possible. If you're watching the proceedings on Olelo, please mute your television at the time you are called to testify. And when the timer on screen reaches 0, please conclude your remarks promptly. HRS Section 92-3.7 requires that all votes at remote meetings be conducted by roll call unless unanimous. Therefore, I will first call for objections, and if there are any, I will call for a roll call vote. Written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please turn off cell phones for the duration of this meeting. So item number 1 on our agenda today is Resolution 23-48, confirming the reappointment of Ms. Debbie Elenecki to serve on the Honolulu Fire Commission for a term to expire on December 31st, 2024. Members, please note that a proposed CD1 to the resolution was posted on the agenda, and a summary of the amendments was also listed. And here, I'd just like to read the amendments. Item A, in the 4th whereas clause, adds a reference to Mayor's Message 68, 2023, dated April 3rd, 2023. Item B, in the fifth whereas clause, notes that Ms. Elenecki will be filling the vacancy created by the passing of Mr. Nicholas Teves Jr. and will serve the remainder of Mr. Teves' term that expires on December 31st, 2024. Item C, in the 5th whereas clause and in the be it finally resolved clause, corrects the spelling of Ms. Debbie Elenecki's name, and item D makes miscellaneous technical and non-substantive amendments. I would like to welcome to the chamber Councilmember Andrew Tupola. Thank you for joining us. So at this time, we'd like to welcome Ms. Debbie Elenecki, our appointee, and you can come to the podium, and if we'd like to welcome you, if you'd like to share any words with us.
Aloha kako. Thank you very much, Committee Chair Okimoto, honorable council members. Again, I'm Debbie Elenecki, and I'm just very humbled and honored to have been appointed by Mayor Belangiardi, and I want to thank him for his confidence in me. And as I seek confirmation from council, I also would like to earn that respect and confidence from you and our public as well. I've been a public servant for 32 years, serving in the Honolulu Fire Department, and I just really look forward to continuing that public service and giving back to our community through this position on the Fire Commission, if given the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. I would like to welcome Councilmember Wire to the chamber with us as well. So if it's okay, members, I'm going to take something a little out of order. At this time, Ms. Alaneki, if you're okay, I would like to again mahalo you for joining us today. And I have a few questions that I wanted to present up front, and then I will turn the time over to the members if they have any further questions. So I know you shared a little bit of your background. Thank you for doing that. Could you briefly describe what the All Hazards Incident Management Team, or AHIMT, is, and what your role was during your time with them?
Thank you for that question. So an incident management team basically is a group of trained, experienced, and qualified individuals who are, in layman's terms, they're subject matter experts in bringing order to chaos. We utilize the National Incident Management System, mandated by Presidential Declaration Number 5, as our management tool when we are asked to assist with complex incidents or events, emergencies, natural disasters, or in the case of my most recent deployment, to assist the city in their response to COVID. So our Honolulu IMT was established back in 2015, and it is a multi-agency city team that is a deployable asset through the Department of Emergency Management. And so during my last deployment, I assisted with everything from food distributions to surge testing to vaccinations, and even the potential impacts of Hurricane Douglas at that time.
Thank you. And are you currently contracted by them or intend on accepting a contract with them during your time on the commission, if so appointed?
I do not have a standing contract with the city at all. I would like to, if afforded, the ability and there's no conflict, should the need arise, to still serve as a member on the IMT. I just feel that it's a very important and necessary asset to the city and county of Honolulu. But I do understand that, the process is to assure that there's no conflict of interest, and that I would be processing that request through Corporation Counsel and be guided by them.
And if so, would you be willing to provide instruction to the city without charge if that was something that we would pursue?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Alaneki, if one of your relatives provides testimony to the commission, would you be willing to disclose your familial relationships?
Absolutely. I do have a son and 2 nephews in the department, and I do have close relations with some of the members of the department since I just retired in December of 2018. So disclosing and recusing myself if appropriate, if and when appropriate.
Thank you. Would you be willing to recuse yourself if a personal action or citizen complaint being reviewed by the commission involves one of your relatives?
Yes.
Last one. Would you be willing to recuse yourself if one of your relatives is under consideration for fire chief if the position becomes vacant?
Yes.
Thank you so much. And members, again, I appreciate you allowing me to ask Ms. Alaneki these questions up front. I know that's not normal standard procedure, but I wanted to make sure that we could get that up front. And I appreciate you being here. Members, at this time, if you have any questions. Yes, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam.
Oh, thank you for your willingness to serve. I just wanted to ask a little bit more about the AHIMT process. There are other trainers, right? How are they selected? Is it a competitive bid, or is there sort of a list of people and we sort of ask them to do these classes?
So to confirm, I'm assuming that you're looking at my resume that references instructorship, right? Yeah. And I don't have that instructor certificate any longer. It's actually non-valid due to inactivity during the COVID response. The position that we were speaking of, and I was addressing to Councilmember Okimoto, had to do with actually filling a position on the Honolulu Incident Management Team as a credentialed member on the team.
How many other people possess these credentials, would you estimate? Like who could serve in a similar role?
You know, I don't have that information. I'm sure the Department of Emergency Management has that information. The initial training started in 2010, and it's a pretty progressive and lengthy process to become credentialed. The little bit above being credentialed, I think it's the experience that I've had, the number of deployments I've been on, that gives me a very wide and broad macro perspective of the system. We've assisted with the fissures on Hawaii Island, as well as landslides on Kauai Island, as well as deployed to national emergencies. So,
And just to be clear, this is contracted through EMS versus HFD. Is that right?
it would be through Department of Emergency Management, Director
Okay.
Hiro
DM.
Toya.
Okay. Oh, so it's a different department than HFD. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Councilmember Dos Santos Tam. Any other questions? Yes, Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you, Ms. Alaneki, for being here. I'm glad to see that you're willing to serve and volunteer. My question is in regard to your current employment with Kukolu. So specifically, that is indigenous program. Is that on this island or on Big Island?
It is on this island. It's in Kaneohe, and it's all volunteer work. Ideation probably happened 3 years ago with Kanakolu Noah, our founder. I got involved in late 2021, basically providing logistical support. And then establishment of the 501c3 didn't come until March 2022. And we all have been volunteering to build that organization since its inception.
Yeah, it looks great, actually. This is a really awesome endeavor. I do think that, with service on this commission, we appreciate your background and every aspect of it, right? Whether it's indigenous or Native Hawaiian background or fire commission background, safety background. So what do you think in your background kind of stands out as what you would be adding to the current commission members?
I think all of the above that you mentioned, inclusive of being a minority female as well in the department. At Kukolu, I am very much a fish out of water, being exposed to that different element of business and nonprofit work, and just marrying and understanding that we may be speaking the same language, but we very much are all on board with trying to give back and serve our community and create sustaining ecosystems, feeding each other, giving, and creating these systems for advancement, efficiencies, and so on.
Have you watched any of the past fire commission meetings?
I haven't watched them. I have been pulling the agendas or the minutes from the website, as well as trying to find bunch of the public safety committee meetings involving fire, but I have not seen the link with the video for the fire commission.
Yeah, no problem. In your brief overview of what you have saw, what do you think is the main challenge that the fire commission faces?
So I kind of briefly wrote a couple notes down that just overarching topics that came up. I know at one time, and this may have been resolved just recently, but it had to do with the hiring of the assistant fire chief's positions. If I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe those positions have been recently filled. Prior to that, that would have definitely been one of my top concerns to raise. Overarching topics that I hear recurring has to do with the sprinkled high rise. What is the progress that's happening? Our situation with the hikers that are trespassing, as well as the establishment of a third rescue company. I'm kind of interested also in the effects, if I'm sure there are, but the effects of COVID and the restrictions that happened during COVID. For example, I'm sure it affected training. Is there a residual effect from that lack of training, in-person training? Is there an effect of the hiring of firefighters? I think the fire department is fortunate in the sense that they are able to attract and retain those positions. I'm not sure if the process of that hiring is efficient. I would dive into that a little bit more. And having served on the Honolulu IMT and also during my tenure in the department, I was assigned not only to fire operations and suppression, but I was also assigned in the Administrative Services Bureau in an administrative capacity. And there I was privileged enough to be able to work with many other city and state agencies, Budget and Fiscal Services, Department of Emergency Management, Department of Facility Maintenance, State Department of Health, based on the scope and responsibility that I had within the HFD. And so I'd like to bring that macro perspective instead of just operating in a silo, in a HFD-specific silo, and understanding that the recommendations that we make will affect other agencies and vice versa, and just make sure those relationships are strengthened and maintained along the way.
That's great. Thank you. I love hearing your thought process to learn more about who you are and how you make decisions. We will be talking a little bit about the sprinkler issue in the Public Infrastructure and Safety Committee today, and I'll keep all current and future Fire Commission members abreast of how it moves. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Members, any other questions? Okay. Thank you, Ms. Elenecki. So we will now proceed with in-person testimony in the council chamber. Madam Chair, do we have any registered testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Any non-registered testifiers at this time who would like to
Chair, there are none.
testify? Okay, thank you. We will now proceed with remote testimony. Do we have any registered remote testifiers for this item?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. Any non-registered?
Chair, there are none.
Thank you. So members, we are now in discussion. Okay. I would just like to say on behalf of council member and our council vice chair, Esther Kiaina, she wanted to be here really badly, but she was not able to. So she wanted to make sure that I relayed a message to you that she's really grateful for all that you've done in the past, and she appreciates not just the work that you've done so far, but also what you can bring to the commission. And she just wanted to be sure that you knew this today. She had to do something in the district. So thank you again, Ms. Elenecki. And I think from another wahine, we appreciate seeing other mana wahine. I'm not sure if you guys were able to hear, but Ms. Elenecki was the first wahine firefighter, first wahine fire captain and battalion chief in the Honolulu Fire Department. She comes from a long legacy of firefighters who have dedicated a lot of time and sacrifices to our public safety of our communities. So I look forward to continuing that. I'm grateful that Ms. Elenecki was able to meet with me, and she was able to, come and be transparent about her involvement in different situations and areas. And thank you again for answering the questions that we presented to you today. With that being said, the chair recommends that Resolution 23-48 be amended to the posted proposed CD1 with the OCS number 2023-0347/4/25/2023 at 1:35 p.m. Any objections or reservations? Hearing none, the resolution is amended to CD1. The chair then recommends that Resolution 23-48 CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Thank you again, Ms. Elenecki, for being here. Okay. Item number 2, Resolution 23-50, urging the Honolulu Police Department and the city administration to establish a new police substation in the North Shore area of Patrol District 2 in order to respond to the need for responsive public safety services and sufficient public facilities for that community. Before I turn the time over to Captain Tate Nojima, who's here from the Honolulu Police Department, I would like to just welcome Councilmember Wire, who is the council member from this district, and if you have any words you'd like to share with us.
Just wanted to say mahalo, Chair, for putting the resolution on agenda, allowing the conversation today with Captain Nojima. I'll have him come up. I was going to ask questions that once you allow it,
Okay.
but just wanted to recognize that ultimately this is just about meeting the need of the community, not cutting in line in front of any projects that exist already, but just saying and making sure that admin knows District 2 is still in line. This is still a need, and so we want to make sure it happens as soon as it can.
Thank you, Councilmember Wire. Aloha, Captain Tate Nojima. I'd like to welcome you.
Thank you. My name is Captain Tate Nojima. I'm with District 2. I'm the captain. I'm usually the operations commander of the District 2. I appreciate the bill that's set forward to us, but there are some concerns that we have as a Honolulu Police Department. One of them is the lack of staffing. At this time, we all know that we are short in personnel, and we are trying to fill the positions as we speak. I think that right now it would be difficult to fill the positions because if you have a substation in this area that's need to be manned 24 hours a day with at least one supervisor at the station, that means we'd have to add one more position to our division. At this time, it would be difficult to have that position filled. Along with, I think there's other areas that the budget could be used for in the department that's probably a higher priority. Right now, if you were to build a station there, it'll be only for 4 officers. That's the entire district of Sector 3 or the North Shore section of the of District 2. I think there's other ways to do this, but I can't think of one right now. I also believe that if we do go ahead with a substation, that more communication has to be done between us and the proposed resolution. But as a Honolulu Police Department, I do appreciate the concept. It is really good. And anything that we can have for the department to help us out, we always appreciate it. So at this time, I guess the stance is we're going to monitor this bill for now, and anytime information comes up upon it, we're more than willing to discuss it and, of course, put our own personal input in it. Thank you. If there's any questions?
Thank you, Captain Nojima. Members, do we have any questions? Yes, Councilmember Wire.
Mahalo, Chair. And I'll try to be concise. Mahalo, Captain, for being here. I was asking, maybe we could start. Could you just describe for everyone the outline of District 2 and what it looks like?
Okay, the outline of District 2, basically we go from Kawela Bay and we head to Kaina Point. And from there on, we go to Pineapple Road. That's the district of District 2. That's the boundary of District 2. Lengthwise, yes, there's enough room maybe for a substation, but the personnel-wise and the amount of people that work in the area, because most of the land in District 2 is more going to be farm, agriculture, or forestry area. So there's no real population in the area. So if you look at the population density of our district, it's usually second of that's how many offers we get. So adding another substation, though we appreciate it, and we would like to have one, but we would definitely have to look at if it's qualified and important enough to have one out there. Because like I said, there's an armory, there's a jail cell there, there's a lot of infrastructure that's gonna have to be built for a substation, as well as the location. We need to know where it is because we can't put it in a flood zone. We need to have an area where it's safe, secure, with easy access to also not only for us, but the public as well.
Captain, could I ask about how long is the drive from Kaina Point to Kawela Bay? That I guess one part of the stretch, right? Not even accounting for going down to Wahiawa on a no traffic day.
No traffic day, maybe about 20 minutes
Okay.
on a good day. And depends on what's happening during that day. Of course, if it's a day that has a function, such as the Eddy, then it'd be significant longer.
Okay. So 20 minutes, you're saying for a police officer?
Yeah,
Okay, because it's about 20, how many miles is it?
that I'm not positive.
Yeah, I want to say it's like 20, over 20.
Over 20 miles, yeah.
Yeah. maybe like 25-ish,
25?
23.
Okay.
Yeah, and the speed limit on that road varies. What's
Yes,
your
it's
experience?
35 to 25.
Yeah.
depending,
But I understand HPD can drive faster if it's an emergency.
If it's emergency, yes.
Yeah.
They're emergency vehicles.
Yeah, so, but just kind of in terms of the impact on the community, and, as they're doing patrol, the patrol
Mm-hmm.
officers are probably just abiding by traffic
Yes.
conditions, right?
Yes.
And the regular speed limit, and so they're
Yes.
called over to a incident. Is that
Yeah.
generally accurate?
Well, each sector, so what that sector is called Sector 3, is broken up into 4 separate beats. Each officer is assigned to a beat. And many times what happens, the officer is assigned to beat, so one is assigned to the Cavela Bay area, one assigned to, where Eddie is, Waimea Bay area,
Yeah,
Haleiwa, and then, of course, on the other side, yeah?
yeah,
So each officer is assigned to that beat. And so there's supposed to be an officer that usually cruises in that area, and that's their area of responsibility. So yeah, they'll travel across, they'll do the routine patrol, but in generally speaking, there is an officer assigned periodically in each area so that the response time is shorter if necessary.
okay. So response time to a particular incident in a person's beat would be faster.
Yes,
Maybe response time to another officer who needs backup in their beat may take a little bit more time.
possibly.
Yeah,
But most times, the officers do kind of hang out and they do check the areas by themselves or to go with their partners. But yes, generally speaking, they're responsible for each area that they're assigned to.
okay. And is it your understanding that a substation on North Shore is within the strategic plan, long-term plan of the department and Chief Logan?
I can't, most I can say is expansion is in his plan, expansion to see what else we can do, including the Kapolei and Waianae area. Now, I don't know what area his exact plan is for District 2, but I know he is planning to expand and have better coverage of every area, excuse me.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's my understanding, at least what's been relayed, not timing-wise, but just that's a part of the
That's what we want to do.
yeah, and you understand the resolution doesn't have a specific date
Yes.
for when a substation needs to be created?
Yes.
Okay,
But like I
appreciate
said,
that.
we appreciate it. We really
Yeah.
do. Because having a substation out there, and if you get more staffing out there, that would be good.
Yeah,
But the way it's set now, we can monitor the bill. If there's any kind of modifications, of course, we'll be in discussion with it and work it out, I'm sure.
yeah. I appreciate that, because like I said, this isn't about cutting in line. We know projects are going on, but we also know that there's a need. I agree with you. We need more police officers. That was a conversation at Mililani Neighborhood Board last night. Their perception is officers get called out of their community to go up to North Shore. North Shore's perception is officers get called out of their community to go down to
No, yeah, they actually have a set of officers that are assigned to that area.
yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. And I think that we're all in agreement that our goal is to fill these vacancies growing. How we get there, I know that's an ongoing conversation. This is just a reflection of, like you mentioned, population. Would you say it's about, 30,000, 25,000 in that general area?
Maybe. I really can't comment on that. I don't want to give a fact that I have no
Yeah.
solid information on.
Of course.
Yeah.
And this doesn't even specify an exact location on North Shore, right?
Yes.
So could, in theory, be kind of point to Cavela Bay coming down. In my mind, maybe more appropriately between Wailua and Sunset.
Yeah, that would be good.
I know some folks want it on, this side or the Haleiwa side of Waimea Bay, just because, when there's blockages or something or of the road, right? Kahuku is on one side, but
Yes.
I think that's an ongoing conversation, and the HPD would have the data on where the calls are,
Yes.
how the visitor impacts are, because we know that in addition to those 25,000 residents, you have thousands of visitors coming into the
Yes,
district.
we do. Yes.
And so, yeah, appreciate all the insight. Because I do think, part of the question is maybe once we move towards a substation, maybe you can look at, not you, but HPD, how do we maybe add another district, right? So there's
Yes.
But of course, that's dependent on staffing. So again, appreciate you being here today. All the work you do every day,
Yeah.
truly.
Thank you.
So thank you, Captain.
Thank you, Councilmember Wire. Are there any other questions? Councilmember Tupola?
Thank you so much. I'm all for anything that Councilmember Wire wants. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Help
thank
the
you.
North Shore.
Yes.
You know what's funny is we had a town hall about expanding into a District 9 on the west side, and actually the chief of police was like, oh, I want to expand on the North Shore. So he actually, I think, has it in his mind. I don't know where. So does, when you guys have cases in Waimea and Sunset, do you guys ever process bodies at Kahuku?
No, they go to Wahiwa Police Station.
Is that not an option?
That is an option depending on the situation. For example, if a good example, if the Eddie was on, then anybody past Waimea Bay, they will process them at Kahuku Station. That is an option. But for the most part, each body that gets processed and arrested goes up to the Wahiwa Station for processing.
Well, I was just thinking about that only because of the release as well, right? So say, for example, arrested and then maybe something doesn't pan out and then they're released in Wahiwa all the way from Haleiwa. I'm just saying I don't know, protocol-wise, it's probably just so that you guys aren't overwhelming the Kahuku Station.
Well, it just depends because the Kahuku Station is part of District 4, which is the Kaneohe District. And we
Understood.
try to keep it within the same boundaries so the case will go to Kaneohe Court instead of the Wahiwa Court.
Yeah.
So in the cases like that, a lot of times, unfortunately, if somebody gets arrested and let's say for a felony case, they'll actually end up being dropped off at 801 South Beartown, the main station. And if they're released, like how you all see the RPI release pending investigation, they will be released at the main station, and it's up to them to find the way back to where they have to go.
Sure. So the beats you have 4 beats in District 2, or you have more beats?
No, I have 4 beats just in what they call Sector 3, which is the North Shore side.
Oh, you have 4 beats within Sector 3.
Yes. And
How
that's
many
the whole
sectors do you
North Shore.
have?
We have 3 sectors.
Total officers in the beats per patrol shift?
Usually
12?
about 10,
10?
sometimes more.
And what is are you guys at full capacity around 75% per shift?
About 75% per shift.
So in regards to, well, obviously we're trying to put in some incentives so we can have more officers so that you guys are staffed more. Do you guys have other patrol units on top your regular, beat officers? Do you guys do beach task force anymore?
We do have other units available. Sometimes it's the plainclothes crew units that are able to take cases. We also have ATVs that are sometimes on the beach that they often see. And
Well, so the crew guys are doing their own thing, but you guys don't run a beach task force out of District 2?
we don't have a specific beach force task force. We do have an ATV contingency that does the beach enforcement area down there.
And then that's it, just crew, those guys, and your patrol officers, no other special units? Do you have CPT officers?
We have 2 CPD officers, but they do handle stuff on the North Shore, but they're also responsible for stuff in Haleiwa, Wahiwa, and Mililani.
So hypothetically, if there was another substation, where would you put it?
That I really don't know, because I'd have to look at where is a good place to put it, where it's centralized, where it's not in a flood zone, and where it can be easily accessible to both the public and the officers as well.
Well, if we're talking miniature substation, I would say Waimea. Most of your officers park right there at the church, that's why. But
Yeah.
it's kind of like a nice middle place, and it's also a city facility. But, there are substations that are really, really tiny. One of the things that I did when I had my resolution for Waianae is we changed it from establishing a new patrol district to giving me a plan on what it would look like so that we can get there. Because have you thought of, or do you guys need more bodies to cover the area you service?
Right now, our staffing is, I would say, adequate. We have enough officers to handle the road and stuff like that. Of course, if our department as a whole gets more officers to come in, of course, it'll make services better.
What about for booking? Do you feel like you guys are able to keep enough officers on the street after they go and book and process a body and get back?
Yes, we do have enough. Yeah, because most times each substation has a desk sergeant, and desk sergeant is capable of booking the officer. And sometimes we have what they call contract hires who help with the booking and processing of the person getting arrested.
Great. Well, thank you again. Likewise, thanks for all your service, all that you guys do. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupola. Any other questions, members? Okay, if not, then we'll proceed with in-person testimony. Madam Clerk, do we have any registered or non-registered in-person testifiers?
Chair, there are no registered or registered.
Are there any remote registered or non-registered testifiers?
There's no registered remote, but I see Angela Young.
Okay, Angela Young. There's Angela Young. Okay, for those of you joining remotely, go ahead, Angela, you can unmute.
Okay, aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, and the committee. Angela Melody Young testifying in strong support on behalf of Kapalama Neighborhood Security Watch. And so, as you know, we can. So from last year, 2022 legislative season, there were several Senate resolutions, and I think also House concurrent resolutions to support the creation, I think it was of a Waianae district police station, or if it wasn't a creation of a police station, it was for the allocation of additional staffing and resources for the Waianae Coast community. And so there was, so we can see that there is a little bit of support from the House and the Senate to aid the police department and the communities by providing additional safety enhancements for that district. And so for North Shore, I think it is a good idea. I don't know logistically how difficult that is to accomplish.
Angela, if you could summarize your
we are in strong
testimony.
support. Okay, thank you.
We'll note the support. Thank you, Angela. Mahalo. Okay. Members, we are now in discussion. Any discussion? Okay. Right now, I'd like to call a recess at the call of the chair. Okay, at 1:41, I'd like to call the meeting on public safety back to order. And at this time, I did ask if there was any discussion. Yes, Councilmember Meyer.
Oh, mahalo, Chair. Like I said, I appreciate the chair, the committee, and all the voting committee members entertaining the resolution. Just wanted to double check with Captain. So it's my understanding you've indicated the department's tracking the resolution, shared the just the staffing limitations that I think all of us are aware of.
Yes.
Yeah. But you're not necessarily opposed to the resolution, just tracking the resolution?
Yes, we're not going to be opposing, but we're going to be monitoring this resolution as it proceeds through then we can add more input and more information can provide it to us, and we can provide more input as well.
Okay, I really appreciate that, Captain. Yeah, Chair, like I mentioned, I talked about a bunch of projects going on in other districts. Really what this is about is just reaffirming the city's commitment to longstanding plans that it's had, promises to the community, understanding the direction we want to go in terms of promoting public safety, supporting our police officers, including our patrol officers, and making the resources accessible to the community. So we just ask that the chair consider passing the resolution out. Mahalo.
Thank you, Councilmember Wire. Any other discussion, members? Okay, thank you. Mahalo again, Captain Najima, for being here. And I do want to just, again, thank the introducer and our council member from the district for doing all that you can. I know as a council, we are really concerned about the public safety. So that being said, the chair recommends that resolution 23-50 be reported out for adoption. Any objections, reservations? Having none, so ordered. Mahalo.
Thank you.
On that note, at now 1:43, I'd like to mahalo everyone for being here and for your participation today. There being no further business, this meeting is now adjourned.